Has this last few weeks just dragged? Times move really slowly because there's been no international rugby to speak of. But the Rugby Championship is back. We now have the teams for the game that will be happening Saturday night, New Zealand time in Wellington, the Cake Tin. And I tell you what, Scott Robertson has he's putting some quite interesting ingredients into the Cake Tin. Here's what he's baking. If I want to take that analogy to, I think I've stopped the whole cake analogy now. It's a really good team. And interestingly, that the headline for me, Anton Linnett-Brown starting at centre. That partnership between Barrett and Ioane has been broken up. It's been a theme on the channel. I think it's been a lot of New Zealand fans have been talking about this. It's certainly something I've been talking about in quite a few of my videos lately. How Geordie Barrett is incredible. How much better could he be with a conventional centre outside him? Both amazing players in their own right, Barrett and Ioane. But Rieko Ioane, sometimes, for all of his athleticism and skill and ability, occasionally feels like a square peg in a round hole. Anton Linnett-Brown played very well against Fiji. That combination with Billy Proctor, who's absolutely a name to watch out for. What could he do in the future? But I think, and what I'm hoping, is that a conventional 13 outside him, someone with that extra bit of distribution and kind of rugby IQ in that position, will mean that Geordie Barrett elevates his game from already being world class to being one of the best players on the planet. I think he's absolutely got that potential. That's just one of the stories here, though. No place for sentiment whatsoever. Sam Cane not involved in the matchday 23. Now, I think Sam Cane's wife has recently given birth to a child, so that may have played into it, but it may just be Scott Robertson saying, you're not the man for me. Another one, Samapeni Finau, who looked okay in those test matches against England, but he's not selected, and Ether Blackadder is in on the blindside flank. Now, Ethan Blackadder, that's someone that before the test matches against England, that was one of the players I was kind of talking up, and then I guess I looked a bit silly because he wasn't selected, but he is in now. I guess the big question is, can he stay fit long enough to show what he's all about? Can he string some games together for the All Blacks? Well, first and foremost, he's got to go out there and perform against that very good Argentinian back row. I'll come to Argentina in just a minute. Second row, lacking a bit of experience for New Zealand, with Sam Darry starting, Scott Barrett, the skipper, being out. That's not ideal. And here we go, the bottleneck that was caused. It makes it sound like a negative. It's just a natural bottleneck. You're not going to get young players coming through when you have two of the greatest locks of all time in Brodie Retallick and Sam Whitelock available to you. But here they go. That bottleneck has been unblocked, and there's opportunities now for Sam Darry, for Josh Lord. Josh Lord has 4 caps to his name, but he's been leapfrogged by Sam Darry, who played against Fiji, 21 minutes to his name in international rugby. Big opportunity for him in the engine room. In the back line, Beauden Barrett gets the start at fullback. That's awesome. TJ is fit and available. That's great. Will Jordan is back on the bench. Hasn't played since the Rugby World Cup, except for he had a little trot out in the NPC last weekend. Yeah, that's enough. He's that good. He's that good. You can just... You've had a really long layoff, have you, Will Jordan? Yeah, it's all right. I've had a trot out for 20 minutes. I'll be fine. And you wager that he will be. And excitement on the bench with Wallace Satiti being selected. Scott Robertson is describing his bench as impact. Oh my goodness, there is absolutely that. Oops. Let's move on to Argentina. Los Pumas, who also have a new coach. Felipe Contepomi is in the hot seat as well. A tougher side to judge, largely because Argentina, they're unpredictable at the best of times. And it's hard to judge what we've seen so far because they've played the French B side, which they played poorly and lost 1, and then played well and won 1. But how good was the team they're playing? I don't really know. And they played against Uruguay. They put them to the sword handily, but Uruguay without guys like Santiago Arata, just really hard to judge at this point. We're going to learn a lot more. Felipe Contepomi will be gutted that his captain, just like New Zealand's captain is out, Julian Montoya at hooker is out. I would say that's a bigger blow for Argentina than for New Zealand, because Montoya is just a talismanic figure. He plays 80 minutes of games, and so often he grabs that team by the scruff of the neck. That said, Gus Crevy still playing rugby. I wish I loved anything as much as Gus Crevy loves playing for Argentina. Almost 40 years of age, and there he is on the bench, turning out at hooker. You love it. I tell you what, that back row for Argentina, spicy. Pablo Matera, Marcos Kremer, and Juan Martin Gonzalez. That is absolutely box office. And if that trio can get on top of their New Zealand counterparts, keep Ardie Savia quiet, and start dominating in the contact, winning that gain line, Matera and Kremer, smashing people and winning the gain line, and then carrying hard, that's Argentina's route to victory. Quite an interesting selection behind the scrum. Matthias Moroni selected on the wing. He's a centre, and he's picked on the wing. I know Argentina played Buffelli a lot on the wing, who's not available, injured still, and he's quite a pragmatic wing selection. That feels quite a pragmatic pick because they've got some ballers out wide. But Moroni, that did surprise me. I guess what when I look at that with no one on the bench as well that plays in those wide positions, so I think they're just a bit light in that area. But possibly, I think that speaks to how Argentina are going to play this game. They're going to play pragmatic. I think they're going to kick a lot. I think they're going to try and make it an arm wrestle, and then that will play into their hands with guys like Kremer and Matera. If they need to chase the game, which I imagine they probably will end up needing to, then they can bring Olbenors on at 10. They can move Santi Carreras to fullback and Juan Cruz Malia onto the wing if they want a more attacking setup. I think that's probably how it will go. And one final thing to mention, just like New Zealand have got relative inexperience in the second row, same goes with Argentina, who've got Francisco Molina, 3 caps to his name, and Pedro Rubiolo, 12 caps to his name. Rubiolo is a back row really, but they do have 2 locks on the bench. Thomas Lavanini, who's plenty experienced, and that wonder kid, under 20s captain at Toulouse as well, on debut, Ephraim, who looks a proper talent, so keep an eye out for him. As for a combined team, much like with Argentina, much like with Australia and South Africa, very few Argentinians would make it into a combined New Zealand and Argentina 23. This is if you had access to all players and you were just matching them off against each other. Who would you pick? I've gone for those Argentinian flankers. They're so good. And that is, as I say, that is their route to victory. That's how they upset New Zealand's tempo. That's how they get to TJ Perinara and affect the ball that Damien McKenzie gets and his ability to get the wide man into the game. I just don't know if that's going to be nearly enough. When I look at the front row, Gallo and Bello are decent props, but De Groot and Lomax are world class, and the guys they've got coming off the bench, arguably Fletcher Newell is the best scrummager of the lot out of New Zealand's options. They've just got too much heat in too many places, and I've put Mateo Carreras in. That's mainly because Sevu Reece has only played a couple of international games in the last 18 months, and so I've gone with Carreras. But Sevu Reece is a hell of a player. I don't really give Argentina any chance of a win. It's a bit of a shame in that sense. Again, let's see how it actually pans out, because I could be made to look very stupid. Argentina have been big underdogs, gone to New Zealand and got famous victories in the past. So it is possible. But if it goes how I expect it to go, I think we're going to see 2 scorelines that are mismatches. Wins by 20 points for South Africa away in Australia, and a win by 20 points for New Zealand at home to Argentina. That's how I'm seeing it going at this point. Tell me if you disagree. Argentina have got a big performance in them. That AB machine looks mean. It looks mean. And I think we're probably going to be arriving in Johannesburg and Cape Town. Well, Johannesburg, that first test between the Springboks and the All Blacks, with both teams 2 wins from 2, which will just hype that matchup even more, which is why I cannot wait to be there at the end of the month, and more importantly, cannot wait for the Rugby Championship to begin on Saturday morning, where I will be sat watching the rugby, chugging my coffee, and then hopping on here to do some videos following the full-time whistle. So if you don't want to miss that, and if you appreciate the content on the channel, I would really appreciate it if you'd hit subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.